Good day, and welcome to the John Myers Show. No, his voice hasn't changed. It's not his voice. We wish him the best. He's in our thoughts. He's in our prayers. He's under the weather today. Pastor John Myers. I'm Deborah Ray, sitting in here with the Tampa Bay news legend. And as you heard that anniversary open house, we're kind of old here, but we have somebody very new. But his passion, nonetheless, than those of us who have been around for a long time, because his passion is to help others. And as we heard from our morning devotional today from the book of Luke, we are called to help others, and he takes that mission very seriously, Roger.
Cory Kammerdiener is with us. Hopefully we pronounced your name correctly this time.
You got it correct.
Oh, good. Cory, welcome to our studios. Good to have you here.
Nice to be here.
So tell us the story. First in Houston, now in Florida. Your mission is to help others, and to help others in a unique time when a lot of people really need a hand up when it comes to real estate and their home, Cory.
Most definitely, and we are a company, we're a real estate company, 100% business, but we're also 100% ministry. And in this economic downturn, right now, people are still desiring to purchase a home, but it's a little bit more difficult due to the financial meltdown. And God has lifted up a real estate company in these times where we're going to the home buyers and we're providing services to be able to help them to meet the desires of their heart. And what we do is we offer in the beginning a free credit analysis. We give a free credit report to every person who's looking to purchase a home. We analyze the credit. We explain to them the 5 factors of credit scoring. And what we do is we tie it into biblical scriptures. For example, we ask people, do you know the amount of years it will take before bad credit will fall off your credit? Most people know that it's 7 years. So we equate that biblically to if a man owes you money and he cannot pay, then legally he becomes your servant for 7 years. And after that 7 years, you have to release him. So what we're doing is we're taking education in real estate, in the home buying process, tying into biblical scriptures, and we're using the power of the word. See, a lot of people that come to us, they may know of God, but they don't know the relationship with God. And what we're doing is we're using the word of God, which is Jesus, and we're empowering the people by showing them that if you can put that word in your mouth and believe in faith in your heart and just declare it and loose the word, that anything you loose on earth, it has to be loosed in heaven. So they're taking these principles, even though they might not be churchgoers, but they're seeing results. And when people start to see results of what God can do, it's just human nature to want more. And that's our tactic. We bring people in that have credit issues. We show them how to use the word to get around those issues. Now, another problem that a lot of home buyers are going to face is lack of down payment money to be able to purchase their home. And right now, the government has stockpiled money, which is also biblical. I'm not going to say that the government is all wicked, but the Bible does say that the wicked has laid up the wealth, and there will be a transference into the hand of the righteous. So what we're doing is we're coordinating with different government entities. It could be on a state level, county level, or city level. The government has set aside money to help particularly those who've never owned a home, because you got to understand that when you own property, you pay property tax, and it's through property tax that we have the police department, the school teachers, the junior colleges, and the different municipalities. So it's a trade-off, and what we're doing is showing the home buyers how they can get their hands on that grant money so that they can use it for their down payment.
And it's not inconsiderable, Roger. I mean, we're talking about in Hillsborough County alone, $40,000 worth of assistance, which is what Cory's company, newhomeprograms.com, can help people with.
That was just marveling. Cory, you explained this better than anyone I have ever heard. That was the simplest, most elegant explanation of how this whole thing works and doesn't work. And speaking of evil people who have taken the money and not given it out, like they should have, Bank of America and some of these other big organizations, they are apparently starting to now because of pressure from above, are they not?
Exactly. And the government, they have to manage the funds of all the Americans, the country. And right now we all understand that the housing crisis is what affected the entire economy of the United States of America.
Exactly.
So the government, they're going to have to do something to start the home sales. So there's money that they've already had set aside that was devoted to going into sparking the housing market.
It wasn't going there for the longest time, was it? It was being...
Well, the problem was the money was there. The problem is the banks, they tightened up their credit requirements. So the government has a lot of money to give away, but it's the banks saying, well, now you need a 640 credit score. You can't have any, late pays and, a certain amount of time. And, you have to be immaculate when you apply for a loan.
And the banks then were taking this money, using it for bonuses, purchasing banks in China, getting new branches, totally unrelated to what it should have been used for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He knows our heart, and he knows your heart, Cory, and I'm sure you have people who say, you made a difference, Cory.
Yes, and it was a word that God gave to us, and he said that the people, they're lacking hope. And he said, when I change this economy and I will start with real estate, it will be at that time that the people will realize, what God can do. See, when God does a miracle, unless you're in a desert, you're not going to really see his glory. Back when anyone can get a house 5 years ago, you could have a 550 credit score. You didn't have to have any money to put down. Any person off the street could get a house. So why would they glorify the name of the Lord? But now that he's got us in a desert, to get a home, you truly have to believe that it is a blessing from God to be able to do it, because the odds are stacked against you. So the greatest miracles are always the ones that are done in the desert. And that's what this country's in right now. It's an economic desert.
But the lessons that we learn from this, in terms of being better stewards of our money. I mean, this was a crisis that everybody had a role to play, Cory, and your interaction with people through new home programs, and people can find out more at newhomeprograms.com. To be better managers of their money, to understand the system and how it works, to not take on perhaps some of these home equity loans so that when real estate values start to fluctuate as they do, that they find themselves underwater, Cory.
That is true. As a believer, you have to understand that the money is never your money. You're just a steward of what God gives. He's the owner of the gold and silver. Yeah. And a lot of times we make decisions without seeking the Lord. And when the enemy, aka Lucifer, says, well, you have $100,000 equity in your house, you should just go for it and don't think about the consequences. The Lord told us that, it would be very difficult for a person to be able to make a choice if you have money, okay, and then the other choice would be the Lord, because people put their confidence in money. And that's what the devil used as an enemy is, look, you can get the wealth, go for that. And once you have the wealth, why would you need to put your confidence in the Lord? And that's what a lot of people did. They didn't move by the Spirit, they moved by the flesh, and they went after money. And the Bible says, money is not evil, it's the love of money. And I can see in the state of Florida where almost everybody's house was upside down, and that's what happened. Their houses went up in such great volume that they just started cashing in and start buying more things instead of paying things off. And it was the greed that got them, and it was the banks pushing the people to do it. It was the banks saying, look, we could refi, you can cash out, you can do this. And it's no coincidence that right now, years ago, people would say, I'm a suit, I'm a Wall Street man, I invest, I have a portfolio. Wall Street was like the God to the world. But look at Wall Street right now. The people have turned against their God, and now they're protesting Wall Street. And that's biblical. When someone takes the place of the Lord and people start to put the confidence, there's going to come a time when he's going to bring you down. So now people are redefining where they're going to put their faith and their confidence in now.
We're talking to Cory Kammerdiener, and tell us your organization.
It's called newhomeprograms.com.
And how, if a person is listening right now and wants to get involved in this, would they contact you?
Yes, they can go to our website, newhomeprograms.com. We have a lot of information on credit, different government programs, particular to the Tampa Bay area, or they can just call our 800 number. We have 888-907-3334. That's our national line. So when they call into that line, they'll have an option of being directed to Houston or to the Tampa Bay area.
All right, we'll repeat that number before you go, of course. And if you have any questions for Cory or any of us, 1-855-265-2929, our WTIS call-in line. It's toll-free, 1-855-265-2929.
Want to hear more? Back with Cory, back with you. As Roger indicated, we always invite you to join us toll-free, no matter where you're listening to us here in the Tampa Bay area, where, yay, it is warmer. 855-265-2929, right here on the John Meyer Show on Inspiration AM 1110, WTIS.
I've heard of them.
You'll need that.
You're listening to the John Myers Show. I'm Deborah Ray, sitting in for an ailing John Myers today with Tampa Bay news legend Roger P. Shulman and a very special guest joining us today, a real steward who heard the call and his company now faithfully serving the real estate needs of the first-time home buyer. We are talking with the steward behind newhomeprograms.com. He joins us today, and if you have the opportunity to join us, it's toll-free no matter where you're listening to us, 1-855-265-2929, but some important take-home message, website, phone number.
Yes, Cory Kammerdiener, tell us about your website and phone number and where people can get a hold of you once again, because you have to repeat things on the radio.
I
People
understand.
are driving.
In and out of cars.
Yeah,
You say it 3 times and it becomes the gospel, right?
exactly.
Well, you can visit us online at www.newhomeprograms.com. We also have an official YouTube channel, which is newhomeprograms.tv, where you can actually see testimonials of people who have actually gone through the process with us. You can also call our toll-free line, which is 888-907-3334.
All right, and where are you located here in the Bay Area?
We're actually in Lutz, right off of State Road 54.
Oh, very good. Way up there where it's cold in the morning this time of year.
But a lot of first-time home buyers, and you talked about, starting with these first-time home buyers with a credit score. Of course, we are blessed to be home to the ministry of Dave Ramsey each weekday afternoon, and he talks about those credit scores and worshiping at the FICA altar, Cory. How do people know if they qualify? What does that credit score say or not say about them, and how does that figure into this process?
Okay, well, right now to obtain a mortgage loan, the majority of banks, they want your middle score to be a 640. So there's 3 credit bureaus, so they want your middle score to be a 640 on average. That tells them that you're okay. You're not such a risk, to get a loan. So they would prefer 700s, but in this economy, almost no one is going to have a 700 credit score. So what we do is we provide the person with a credit report that's coming in to purchase a home, and we analyze the items on their credit, because sometimes it's not just about a credit score. Banks also look at your last 12 months of history. So you could have a 650 credit score, but if you were late on your car payment one time in the last 12 months, that gives the bank the right to deny your loan. If you have a collection, for example, you have a cell phone bill and you neglected to pay it, and it went into collection, by having one collection within the last 12 months of purchasing your home, you could also be declined for a loan. So those are things that the average person, they don't know. So what we do is we sit down and we show them the parameters of how the bank is going to look at them, so that they don't go to the bank and get declined. Nobody wants to get turned down for a loan. So that's what we try to prevent, is someone going to a bank and then getting denied for a loan, because it's shameful when someone says, we can't help you, we're going to turn you down. And we're not in the business of shaming people. We're in the business of educating them and preparing them, so when they are ready to get a loan, that they're going to get the approval.
And what do you tell people who, perhaps their first-time home purchase is maybe, their first time, buying something, that reflects on their credit history? Are there people that don't have that history who may qualify, may be in need of, your assistance at newhomeprograms.com, Cory, but don't know where to start?
Well, when you go to purchase a loan, one of the guidelines is they want you to show proof that you can pay someone back on time for the last 12 months.
Okay.
And when someone runs into a difficult spot in their life and their credit, goes to the wayside, normally they can't get approved for other lines of credit. But there are certain lines of credit you can get, which are called secure credit. That's where you give someone a deposit and they secure that, loan or credit card with the deposit. So there's banks out there that you can get a $200 limit credit card, but you have to place a deposit so that you're not a high risk. And once you show that you can manage your finances for about 12 months, then the secure card normally will go to an unsecured credit card, and then they can give you higher lines of credit. Now, what we suggest people do is get just a small limit credit card. You don't even have to use it every month, because what the credit scoring is looking at is, 1, do you have an open account? Number 2, if you have an open account, do you pay late? So you can open up a credit card, Okay, maybe charge it one time in 12 months, pay it off, and as long as it stays open, you're going to receive good credit. And normally when you open a new account, the credit increase is going to come around month 4 because it has to have a track record of how you make your payments on time. So we can have someone that has no credit, and within 4 to 5 months, we can have them almost at a 700 credit score.
That's amazing. That's quite a spectacular improvement.
I never heard of this. I mean, this is like the best kept secret, Cory, because so many of us when we contemplate this have nowhere to turn, nobody to help. I mean, this is truly God's work to call you to this mission.
Well, what does the word say about knowledge? My people perish for lack of knowledge. People right now are not able to get their home because they don't have the knowledge behind the home buying process.
Cory, you say that the home situation is going to improve. Do you see improvements in our whole country, financially, militarily, the whole thing? And you look for good times ahead?
I believe that the government believes that the problem lies in jobs. They figure if they can fix jobs, then that's going to bring back housing. I believe that if they start putting money into housing, it will bring back jobs. And I'll give you a point. When a person is given a job offer, the first thing they're going to do is look at that income. For example, $9 an hour. They're going to sit back and do the math and say, what does this $9 an hour do for my lifestyle? Nobody wants to raise their kids in an apartment. And even if you're leasing someone else's house, you don't want to keep giving that money away every month. So the first thing you're going to think about before you even take a job is how will it affect my lifestyle? Now, we're from Texas, okay? So I can say this is the truth. Northerners are leaving to come to Texas, which they said, I would never go and be a Southerner. But why are they doing it? Because the cost of living is cheaper and they can provide a home for their family. In the state of Texas, you could buy a brand new home starting at $79,000. We don't have a state income tax. And with all the tax laws concerning businesses, it's a place where your business can come and prosper. So people will turn down a job making $20 an hour in New York, and they will come to Texas for $15 an hour because of the lifestyle that they can get. So people want to have a secure place for their family. They want to live in good neighborhoods. They want their kids to go to good schools, and that's why they're willing to make a decision based on their housing status before they even take a job.
I once listened, in fact, just recently, Cory, to a discussion by Dave Ramsey talking with a caller from Detroit who is considering a move to the Tampa Bay area, who would potentially be a first-time home buyer here in the Tampa Bay area. And it was fascinating because what he portrayed was that, in Detroit, there are some fundamental problems with the economy and the economy's ability to create and sustain jobs. Not so here in Florida. And what Dave was relating was the fact that he believes, in fact, he's part of a trust that is buying up real estate bargains here in the Florida area, particularly the Tampa Bay area, that were undervalued. Does that help the first-time home buyer that there are perhaps some bargains out there here in the Tampa Bay area?
Most definitely. When you apply for a loan, the number one thing that's going to get you is your debt-to-income ratio. So 5 years ago in Tampa Bay, if someone was to make $13 an hour, it would be almost impossible for them to purchase a home because they weren't able to qualify for a $160,000 starter home. But now you can buy a brand new home in the Tampa Bay area starting as low as $99,000. So someone who makes $11, $12 an hour, they can actually afford a home. Now that's a new home. Now there's foreclosures and short sales that now you can buy for $50,000. So if you can afford a monthly payment of $400 a month, you can actually have your own house. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to do that here.
And those houses might have been $250,000 back in 2007.
Especially the condo market.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And at your website, I see that you you've done your homework, you've got that knowledge, you're up on what the various communities in the area offer in terms of assistance. What's that about?
Well, based on the economy, the local economy, whether it's the city of Tampa or maybe it's a county like Pinellas County, they have certain funds that are allocated to drive the housing market. So in areas where it's more devastation, normally the larger metropolitan areas, for example, I just heard that in the city of Houston, even though we're not in a crisis in Houston, for 2012, the city of Houston has $4.9 million to give away. And they've increased the amount that they're willing to give away to $30,000 per person. Now, in Tampa, you guys have already been giving up to $30,000 because you guys are more in distress than Houston. But now there's a great population in the city of Houston that before the most they would have probably gotten was maybe 19,000. Now they're willing to get 30,000 from the city of Houston.
All right, let's say I want a house. What will I be able to get from the city of
You're in
Clearwater,
Pinellas
Tampa?
County, good
Yeah.
news.
Well, it depends. What they do is they look at your income level.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of money out there, but the government's just not going to give it to the wealthy. So what they're going to do is they're going to look at your income, and based on how many people are going to live in your house, it's going to be a scale. So, for example, let's say that the scale for one person living in a house, if you make less than 34,000, then let's say Hillsborough County has a grant for 30,000, then
We're
you
out
could
of
get a
time.
portion.
You gotta call, what's the number?
What is your number?
888-907-3334.
And the website?
www.newhomeprograms.com.
Delightful, will you come back again?
Most
I'll have to
definitely.
put off buying my home till you come back again. Thank
Cory,
you, Cory.
newhomeprograms.com. You're listening to us right here on the John Myers Show. I'm Deborah Ray, sitting in for the ailing John Myers right here on AM Inspiration 1110 WTIS.
Thank you, Cory.